Think being a princess in ancient China was all silk dresses and royal luxury? Think again. In the Ming dynasty, the emperor kept up to 9,000 concubines locked in the Forbidden City, 9,000 women competing for one man's attention. And here's the kicker. Most would never even see his face. Literally, thousands of women lived their entire lives in gilded captivity for the slim chance of a single night with the emperor. And if he died? Up until 1464, concubines were often buried alive with him. Yeah, apparently he needed company in the afterlife too. You're 12 years old, playing barefoot in the dirt outside your family's shack in Ming Dynasty China, 1570, when a black lacquered carriage pulls up. A man in silk robes steps out, face like stone, eyes like a butcher scanning the meat aisle. He's here for you. So before we start our journey through history tonight, quick thing, if these stories are helping you relax, I'd love if you could drop a like or subscribe. Also, would you mind sharing where you're listening from and what time it is? Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. Alright, let's head back to 1570 China. Trust me, it's gonna be quite a ride, but first, get comfortable. Seriously, adjust those pillows, pull up that blanket, because where we're going, you're gonna want to be cozy. So congratulations, you just woke up in the Ming Dynasty, except you didn't really sleep. Your straw mat scratches against your skin, and the single thin blanket does nothing against the morning chill. The air smells of wood smoke, human waste, and the slightly sour scent of too many bodies living too close together. Outside, you hear roosters announcing dawn, the creak of cartwheels, someone coughing from a winter illness that won't let go. Your stomach growls. It always growls. Not like your warm, full belly right now in your modern bed. You're the second daughter in a family with 5 children and barely enough rice to go around. Your father works someone else's land, and every year the taxes take more. It's been a hard winter, the kind where old people and babies don't always make it to spring. Not that you need to worry about that anymore, because today, men from the imperial court are coming to your village, and rumour says they're selecting young girls. For what? No one will tell you exactly, but your mother keeps looking at you with red-rimmed eyes, and last night you caught her crying into her sleeve when she thought no one was watching. The emperor needs girls, your father says stiffly at breakfast, not meeting your eyes. They say it's an honor to be chosen? Honor. Right. The same honor that took your cousin 3 villages over last year. No one's heard from her since. The man who steps from the carriage doesn't ask questions. He inspects your teeth, your feet, your skin like your livestock on sale day. Then he tosses your father a sack of silver, and just like that, you're gone. Sold. Not as a bride, not even as a servant, but as a concubine. Your mother's sobs fade as the cart rattles away, her face blurred by tears and dust. You're 12, barely old enough to braid your own hair, and now you're cargo-headed for the Forbidden City. The air stinks of sweat and horse dung, and your stomach churns, not just from hunger, but from the rumours you've heard. Girls like you don't come back, ever. Stop your snivelling, the man says when your tears won't stop. The emperor keeps thousands of concubines. Most will never even see his face, but those who please him rise above their station. Wealth, comfort, power, better than starving in that pigsty you called home. The journey takes weeks. You travel with 20 other girls, all ages 12 to 16, all wide-eyed with fear or false bravado. One tries to escape the first night and is dragged back, beaten and tied to the wagon. Message received. No one else tries to run. You arrive at a towering gate, red as blood, where eunuchs with cold eyes herd you like cattle. Eunuchs, men who aren't men anymore. Their high voices and smooth faces make your skin crawl. Some are kind in a distant way. Others seem to enjoy the power they hold over you. "Strip!" one orders, his voice weirdly pitched between man and woman. You and the other girls stand shivering as they poke and prod, examining skin and feet. One girl's sent home for a crooked nose, another's kept because her feet are small enough to bind. Yeah, foot binding. They crush your bones into lotus shapes so you'll hobble prettily for the emperor. Sounds fun, right? Wrong. It's torture that'll leave you screaming for weeks. You pass inspection. Barely. Now you're in the harem, a maze of silk walls and whispered threats. The Forbidden City isn't just a palace, it's a city within a city, and the women's quarters are a prison draped in silk. The walls shimmer with gold, but the air's thick with jasmine incense and fear. Older concubines glare, their eyes sharp as knives. They're not your friends. They're your rivals, and they'd sell their own kids to keep their spot in the emperor's bed. Look at these country rats, one sneers, her fingernails long and painted red, getting younger every year. This one hasn't even bled yet. Your first job? Serve tea to a senior consort who slaps you for pouring too slow. Your cheek stings, but crying's a luxury you can't afford. The rules are simple. Obey, charm, survive. Slip up and you're out of a job. Nope, you're dead. Maybe starved, maybe tortured in the worst possible way. A girl next to you whispers about a concubine who spilled wine on a noble. She vanished. Rumors say she's buried under the palace floor. You're learning fast. This isn't a palace, it's a battlefield, and you're armed with nothing but your face. That night, you sleep on a mat with 4 other new girls in a small chamber far from the emperor's quarters. The ranking system here is brutally simple. The higher your rank, the closer your room to the emperor. You're at the bottom, which means you're practically sleeping in the stable. But it also means you're safe. For now. You learn quickly that the palace runs on bribes and favors. The eunuchs control access to everything: food, clothing, medicine, messages, and most importantly, access to the emperor. Want better food? Bribe a eunuch. Want to send a message home? Bribe a eunuch. Want to avoid the emperor's attention until you're older? Definitely bribe a eunuch. But what do you have to bribe with? Nothing. Which is why you learn to steal. Small things at first, a hairpin left unwatched, extra food from the kitchen. You hide these treasures under a loose floorboard beneath your sleeping mat. Your emergency fund, your survival kit. A month passes, then 2. You're assigned to help in the laundry, washing the fine silks of higher-ranking concubines. The work is hard, but it keeps you out of sight. And in this place, invisibility is safety. Keep your head down, an older laundrywoman tells you. She's not a concubine, but a servant, which means she'll never face the emperor's bed, but also never face his wrath. Stay small, stay quiet, learn everything. The walls have ears, and the wrong word to the wrong person will get your tongue cut out. You notice things, like how Consort Lin always has bruises on her wrists but wears the Emperor's favourite jade bracelet, or how Lady Sun, once favoured, now works in the kitchen after failing to produce a son, or how the Empress walks with 6 attendants who taste everything before she does make. Not because she's important, but because she has the most enemies. One day, you're scrubbing tunics when a commotion erupts across the courtyard. The Emperor is coming to the harem. Not tonight, not later, but now. Unscheduled, unprepared for. Everyone panics. You watch from behind a drying sheet as beautiful women transform into terrified girls, rushing to apply makeup, fix hair, change clothes. Even high-ranking concubines look scared, because the Emperor's favour is as changeable as the wind, and his disfavour means death. He never visits the outer courts, a laundry girl whispers. Something's wrong. You're invisible in your drab work clothes, which is exactly how you want it. You're too young, too new, too unimportant to be noticed, but as you turn to slip away, your foot catches on a bucket. It clatters loudly across the stone floor. Everyone freezes, including the Emperor, who has just entered the courtyard. He's younger than you expected, maybe 30, not handsome, not ugly, just ordinary, except for the dragon robes and the way everyone kowtows like he's a god. His eyes find you. For a terrible moment, you're certain you're dead. Then he laughs. At least someone in this palace is actually working, he says. Come here, girl. Your legs won't move. A eunuch shoves you forward. You fall to your knees, forehead pressed to the cold stone. Your heart's so loud you're sure he can hear it. Look up, he commands. You raise your eyes but keep your head bowed. Palace protocol drilled into you daily. What's your name? You tell him, voice barely a whisper. Speak up, he says, not unkindly. I don't bite, usually. You repeat your name louder this time. How old are you? 12, Your Majesty. He frowns. Too young. Who put you in the laundry? Those chemicals will ruin your skin. Before you can answer, he turns to his chief eunuch. Move her to the gardens, something gentle until she's older. And just like that, your fate changes. Not because you're beautiful or clever, but because you were caught doing honest work while others preened. That night you're moved to slightly better quarters with only 3 other girls. Your new job is tending flowers in the imperial gardens. The work is easier, the food better, and best of all, you're still invisible to most. But not to Lady Wu, a middle-ranking concubine who saw the emperor speak to you. 2 days later, you find your few possessions scattered, your secret floorboard stash discovered and emptied. Next time it will be your pretty little fingers that disappear, her maid whispers as she passes. The emperor may have noticed you, but Lady Wu has been here 5 years. She has friends. You have no one. A year passes like this, working in the gardens, dodging Lady Wu's spite, learning the 1,000 unwritten rules that mean the difference between life and death. You grow taller, your body changes. The eunuchs notice, measuring you with their eyes, calculating your potential value. You notice things too, like how the emperor's mother controls who enters his bedchamber more than he does, how the empress has no children but maintains her position through family connections, how concubines with sons suddenly have power but also make deadly enemies. You make exactly one friend, a girl named May, who works in the kitchen. You trade small favors. She slips you extra food, you bring her flowers from the garden. It's dangerous to trust anyone here, but going it completely alone is even more dangerous. On your 13th birthday, not that anyone knows or cares, you're tending the winter plum blossoms when you overhear 2 eunuchs talking. The astrologer says it's time, he'll need the virgins prepared. All of them? There must be 200. No, just the new ones from the past year. 20, maybe 30 girls. Better warn the handlers. Some are still young. The stars don't care about age, and neither does the emperor. Your blood runs cold. You've heard whispers about this. Once a year, based on star alignments and ancient protocols, the emperor takes new concubines to his bed. A ritual deflowering. A blessing for the empire, a nightmare for the girls. That night, you don't sleep. You lie awake, planning. You've survived a year in this silken hell, but this is different. You're 13, terrified, and about to face the most powerful man in China in the most intimate way possible, and you have exactly 3 days to figure out how to survive it. Your hands shake as you tend the garden the next morning. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of silk makes you jump. They'll be coming for you soon, the eunuchs, the handlers, the women who will bathe you, dress you, prepare you for the emperor's bed. You heard, May says, appearing suddenly beside you with a basket of kitchen scraps for the compost. You nod, not trusting your voice. I've been here 3 years, she says quietly. I was called my first year. I was 14. What was it like? You whisper. She looks around carefully before answering. quick, impersonal. He had 12 girls that night. We were just a ritual, a duty. He barely looked at my face. Were you scared? Terrified? But fear shows weakness. Never show weakness here. It attracts predators. What do I do? May sighs. Be clean. Be quiet. Do exactly as you're told. And whatever you do, don't cry. He hates criers. That afternoon, it happens. A senior eunuch and 2 attendants come to the garden. Your name is on their list. You're taken to a new section of the palace, one you've never seen before, closer to the emperor's quarters. A dozen other girls are already there, all looking as scared as you feel. The next 3 days are a blur of preparations. You're bathed in perfumed water, your skin scrubbed until it hurts, your hair is washed, oiled, styled. You're taught how to walk, how to bow, how to speak to the emperor. Most importantly, you're taught how to please him. The older concubines who train you are matter of fact, clinical. This is a duty, a service to the empire. Your feelings don't matter, your fear doesn't matter. All that matters is the emperor's pleasure. He likes to be praised, one tells you. Not obviously, subtly. Make him feel powerful. Don't speak unless spoken to, says another, and then keep it brief. If he asks if you're afraid, lie, a third adds. Men hate fear unless they've deliberately caused it. On the 3rd day, you're dressed in red silk, your face painted white with lips stained crimson. You barely recognize yourself in the polished bronze mirror. You look older, beautiful even, and absolutely terrified. You and the other girls wait in a chamber outside the emperor's bedroom. No one speaks. Some pray silently. Others stare blankly, already retreated somewhere deep inside themselves. One girl vomits in a corner and is quickly hustled away. She won't be coming back. A eunuch enters with a wooden tablet bearing names. The emperor will see 5 girls tonight. The rest will return tomorrow. Your name is called 3rd. The walk to his chamber feels like walking to your execution. Your bound feet, freshly rewrapped to look smaller, send shooting pain up your legs with each step. But you don't stumble. You can't afford to. Inside, the emperor reclines on a massive bed platform. He looks bored, tired. He barely glances at you as you enter. You kowtow, pressing your forehead to the floor. Your heart is a war drum in your ears. Rise, he says. You stand, eyes downcast. You're the garden girl, he says, surprising you. I remember you. You risk a glance up. He's studying you now, more curious than predatory. Yes, Your Majesty. You're very young. I am 13, Your Majesty. He sighs heavily. I have 30-year-old ministers who look younger than me. This ritual ages me a decade each year. You don't know what to say to that, so you remain silent. To your shock, he waves a hand dismissively. Go, tell them I completed the ritual. You're too young and I'm too tired. You stare, uncomprehending. His eyes narrow. Are you deaf, garden girl? I said go before I change my mind. You back away, bowing repeatedly, hardly daring to believe your luck. As you reach the door, his voice stops you. And garden girl? Not a word about this to anyone. As far as anyone knows, I took your virginity tonight. Understand? The stars must be satisfied, and so must court gossip. You nod frantically. Good. When you're older, I'll remember your face. For now, go back to your flowers. Outside, the eunuchs smirk knowingly as you exit too quickly. Word will spread by morning that the garden girl pleased the emperor poorly. You'll be mocked, perhaps, but you'll be safe, for now. Back in your quarters, you curl into yourself on your sleeping mat. You survived, not through beauty or skill or cunning, but through sheer luck, the emperor's fatigue, his momentary kindness, or perhaps just his disinterest in children. But luck won't save you next time, and there will be a next time. In the darkness, you make a vow. You'll learn everything about this place. Its protocols and poisons, its alliances and enemies. You'll turn invisibility into power, because in the Forbidden City, knowledge is the only weapon women are allowed to wield. Tomorrow, you'll begin. You'll watch, you'll listen, you'll plan, because in this silken prison, surrounded by enemies on all sides, you've discovered something important. You want to live. You're 13 now. Trapped in the Forbidden City's inner court, a prison draped in silk, the walls shimmer with gold, but the air's thick with jasmine and fear. You limp on bound feet, each step a knife in your bones, because beauty means pain, and pain means you're still alive. Your days start before dawn, scrubbing floors for senior consorts who sneer like you're a roach in their rice. Your job? Make them look good while staying invisible. Pour tea too slow and a bamboo rod cracks your knuckles. Spill a drop and you're locked in a closet with no food for a day. Starvation's a great teacher, apparently. The Emperor's bed is the prize, and every girl here's playing a deadly game to get there. You're taught to smile, bow, and flutter your fan like it's a weapon. But the real battlefield is the whispers. That girl with a jade hairpin, she spread a rumor you stole a noble's comb. Now you're scrubbing latrines while she bats her eyes at the Emperor. Trust no one, May whispers one night. They'll drown you in silk to climb higher. She's not wrong. Last week, a girl was caught flirting with a guard. Eunuchs dragged her out, her screams fading into the moat. They say the carp ate well that night. 3 months after your encounter with the Emperor, life has settled into a brutal routine. Wake at dawn, tend the gardens, avoid Lady Wu and her spies. Learn the unwritten rules that might keep you alive. Sleep. Repeat. But things are changing. Your body is developing curves. The eunuchs have stopped treating you like a child and started watching you with calculating eyes. Whispers follow you through the courtyards. The garden girl, the one who failed to please the Emperor, the one he sent away, except that's not what happened. But no one can ever know the truth. You need allies, May tells you as you both scrub vegetables in the kitchen. She's broken protocol to speak with you, risking punishment. Not friends, allies. There's a difference. Who would ally with me, you ask bitterly. I'm nothing here. May shakes her head. Everyone is something, you just haven't figured out what you are yet. That night, you're summoned to the quarters of Lady Chen, a mid-ranking concubine who has been in the palace for 8 years. You've seen her from afar, a willowy woman with a fox-like face and calculating eyes. She has no children, which is unusual for a woman of her rank and age, but somehow she's maintained her position. You note how at the entrance to her chambers, heart racing. Being summoned by a higher-ranking concubine rarely means anything good. Rise, she says, her voice surprisingly deep. Come closer, let me look at you. You approach cautiously, keeping your eyes downcast as protocol demands. The garden girl, she muses, the one our glorious emperor rejected. You flinch but say nothing. Or did he? Her words hang in the air like smoke. Your blood freezes. How could she know? You begin, but she cuts you off with a wave. Don't lie to me, child. I have eyes everywhere, including outside the Emperor's bedchamber that night. I know you were in there for less than 5 minutes. Not even the most disappointed Emperor finishes that quickly. You remain silent, trapped. Relax, she says, almost kindly. Your secret is safe with me, for now. But secrets are currency here, and I've just given you valuable information. I know something about you. Now you owe me. What do you want? You whisper. Information, she says simply. You work in the gardens. You're invisible. People talk around you. You hear things. I want to know what you hear. And just like that, you've become a spy. Not by choice, not by design, but by the simple mechanics of survival. Lady Chen doesn't want your beauty or your body. She wants your ears, your eyes, your access to places she can't go. So you listen, you watch, you remember. You learn that the second consort has been stealing medicine meant for the emperor's mother, that the chief eunuch accepts bribes to rearrange the emperor's sleeping schedule, that 3 of the palace maids are actually spies for the Minister of Rights, who seeks to reduce the eunuch's power. Each bit of information you bring to Lady Chen earns you a small protection. Tea served by her maids when you're thirsty, a salve for your aching feet. Once, when Lady Wu tries to have you reassigned to the laundry again, a whisper from Lady Chen keeps you in the garden. But you're playing a dangerous game. Lady Chen isn't the only one collecting secrets. Everyone here trades in whispers. The question is, what happens when you run out of useful information to share? Your opportunity to prove your worth beyond gossip comes unexpectedly. One morning, as you're pruning winter plum blossoms, you overhear 2 eunuchs talking in hushed tones. The Minister of Defense is pushing his daughter as the next imperial consort, one says. She arrives next week. The Empress won't like that, the other replies. She's been blocking new high-rank concubines for months. This one comes with 20 war horses and a promise of military support. Even the Empress can't block her. You bring this information to Lady Chen that night. Her eyes narrow as she processes the implications. A new high-ranking concubine changes everything, she murmurs, especially one with military backing. Is it bad, you ask? It's dangerous, she corrects. New pieces on the board mean the game changes, but danger can be opportunity if you're smart. She studies you for a long moment. How are your calligraphy skills? You admit they're poor. As a farmer's daughter, you never learned to read or write. Lady Chen frowns. That won't do. Starting tomorrow, you'll spend your evenings with my maid Lin. She'll teach you. But why? Because ignorance will get you killed here. Besides, I may need you to carry messages soon, messages that can't be trusted to word of mouth. Your education begins that very night. Lin is a stern teacher, rapping your knuckles when you hold the brush incorrectly, making you practice basic strokes for hours until your arm aches. But there's power in these symbols, these characters that unlock doors previously barred to you. While you learn to read and write, life in the Forbidden City continues its deadly dance. The minister's daughter arrives with great fanfare, a beautiful girl named Lady Sun with perfect oval face, tiny feet, and the confident demeanor of someone who's never known true hardship. From your place in the garden, you watch her procession enter the palace. 20 eunuchs carry her sedan chair, followed by attendants bearing chests of silks and jewels. The existing concubines line the walkways, smiling poisonous smiles. They hate her already. That night the palace buzzes with rumours. The emperor will see Lady Sun immediately, breaking all protocols about new concubines being quarantined and trained. Her father's influence reaches that far. This is bad for the Empress, Lady Chen tells you as you practice writing characters by candlelight. If Lady Sun produces a son quickly, her military backing could threaten the current power balance. Can't the Empress just get rid of her, you ask, thinking of how easily other girls have disappeared? Lady Chen smiles grimly. Not this one. She's too well connected. No, this requires subtlety. 3 days later, Lady Chen gives you your first real mission. You're to deliver a small package to one of the eunuchs who serves in Lady Sun's quarters. Don't open it, she warns. Don't ask questions. Just make the delivery and return immediately. The package feels light in your hands, wrapped in simple brown paper. It could contain anything, a bribe, a love note, poison. You don't want to know, but as you make your way across the palace, slipping through servant corridors and hidden pathways Lady Chen has mapped for you, your curiosity burns like a fever. You find the eunuch, an older man named Wei, exactly where Lady Chen said he would be. He takes the package without a word, his face revealing nothing. Only the slight tremor in his hand suggests this exchange is anything but routine. That night, Lady Sun falls violently ill. Food poisoning, the palace physicians declare. Nothing fatal, but enough to keep her from the emperor's bed for at least a week. You say nothing, but your hands shake as you tend the garden the next day. You've become complicit in something dangerous. You did well, Lady Chen tells you that evening. The delay gives us time to prepare. Prepare for what? You dare to ask. War, she says simply. Lady Sun won't be content with just the Emperor's favour. She'll want power, real power, and that means removing obstacles. Like the Empress, like anyone who isn't useful to her, Lady Chen gives you a pointed look. So make yourself useful to everyone, little garden girl. It's the only way to survive when the powerful start killing each other. Your education accelerates. By day you tend the gardens, gathering information and observing the shifting alliances of the court. By night you learn to read, write and navigate the labyrinthine politics of the inner palace. Lady Chen proves to be a complicated patron. She's harsh, demanding, sometimes cruel, but she's also teaching you to survive, to think 3 moves ahead, to see people as pieces on a board rather than as friends or enemies. The Emperor is not the most powerful person in this palace, she tells you one evening. Real power lies with those who control access to him. Remember that. 6 months after you first entered the Forbidden City, you scarcely recognize yourself. Your hands, once rough from farm work, have softened. Your skin, protected from the sun by wide-brimmed hats in the garden, has lightened to the pale shade prized by nobility. You can read simple texts, write basic messages, and navigate the physical and social mazes of the palace with growing confidence. But you're still nothing in the grand scheme, a pawn being moved by Lady Chen for her own purposes, and pawns are sacrificed without hesitation when the game requires it. Your moment of truth comes during the Mid-Autumn Festival. The palace is decorated with lanterns, and for once, the concubines can mingle more freely in the courtyards to admire the full moon. It's one of the few nights when the strict hierarchies relax slightly. Lady Chen gives you a simple task. Deliver a message to a eunuch named Lu, who serves the Emperor's mother. The message is written in your own hand, a test of your calligraphy as much as your loyalty. It contains information about Lady Sun's secret meetings with her father's military advisors. Information that, if true, suggests treasonous intent. As you make your way across the moonlit courtyards, the folded paper feels like it's burning through your sleeve where you've hidden it. This isn't just palace gossip. This is dangerous enough to cost lives. You find Eunuch Lu easily enough, but as you're about to pass him the message, you spot Lady Sun watching from a nearby pavilion. Her eyes meet yours, and in that instant, you know she suspects something. You walk past Eunuch Lu without delivering the message. Later that night, Lady Sun's attendants search the quarters of all lower-ranking concubines and servants. They claim to be looking for a stolen hairpin, but you know better. They're looking for evidence of espionage. When they reach your sleeping mat, your heart nearly stops. The message is still hidden in your sleeve, but the searchers are thorough, making everyone strip to their underclothes. There's nowhere to hide it. In desperation, you do the only thing you can think of. You shove the paper into your mouth and swallow it. The rice paper dissolves quickly on your tongue, the ink bitter but not impossible to stomach. The search reveals nothing, but you've crossed a line. You've betrayed Lady Chen's orders, and worse, you've destroyed information that implicated Lady Sun in treason. If Lady Chen discovers what you've done, your punishment will be severe. You can't sleep that night, torn between fear of Lady Chen's retribution and uncertainty about whether you've done the right thing. Was the message even true, or was Lady Chen using you to plant false information? The next morning, as you work in the garden with shaking hands, a shadow falls across the flower bed. You look up to find Lady Sun herself standing there without attendants, which is unusual and forbidden. "Walk with me," she commands softly. Protocol demands you obey a higher-ranking concubine. Though every instinct screams that this is a trap, you follow her to a secluded corner of the garden, near a small pond where koi fish swim lazily in the autumn sun. "You had something for Liu yesterday," she says without preamble. "A message about me." Your mouth goes dry. Denial would be pointless. "And yet you didn't deliver it," she continues. "Why?" You could lie, create some story about losing your nerve or forgetting the message. Instead, you take a risk. "I didn't know if it was true," you say quietly, and a lie that's serious could cost lives. Lady Sun studies you for a long moment. "Clever girl. It wasn't true. It was a test. Not from your mistress to the eunuch, but from your mistress to you. And you failed her test, but passed a more important one. Your confusion must show on your face because she smiles slightly." "Lady Chen and I have been allies for years," she explains. "Did you really think a concubine with no children could maintain her position for 8 years without powerful friends? She was testing your loyalty. Would you deliver a dangerous message unquestioningly? And when you chose conscience over blind obedience, you proved yourself useful in ways she hadn't anticipated." Your head spins. Nothing is as it seems. No one is who they appear to be. "So now what happens?" you ask. "Now you serve 2 mistresses instead of 1, Lady Sun says. "You'll continue reporting to Lady Chen, but you'll also report to me. Your position in the garden makes you valuable to us both. And if your interests conflict," her smile vanishes, "then you'll have to choose, won't you? But choose wisely, garden girl. The wrong choice will be your last." As she walks away, you realize the game has changed again. The stakes are higher, the players more powerful, and you're now caught between 2 dangerous women. But there's a strange comfort in this precarious position. As long as both Lady Chen and Lady Sun value you, neither can easily dispose of you without alerting the other. You've gained a measure of protection through the very danger that threatens you. That night, when Lady Chen summons you, you kneel before her with your heart in your throat. Will she mention the undelivered message? Will she punish you for your failure? Instead, she smiles and places a small wooden box before you. "You've proven yourself adaptable," she says. "That's rare and valuable here." Inside the box is a jade hairpin, nothing elaborate or expensive, but finer than anything you've ever owned, a symbol of rising status, a reward. "Lady Sun approached you today," she states, rather than asks. You nod, not bothering to wonder how she knows. "Good. Remember where your first loyalty lies, garden girl. I found you when you were nothing. I made you useful." "Yes, my lady," you reply, eyes downcast appropriately. As you leave her chambers, the jade pin secure in your hair, you realize you've crossed another threshold. You're no longer just a frightened girl from a farming village. You're becoming something else entirely, a player in the great game of the Forbidden City. Not a powerful piece like Lady Chen or Lady Sun. Not yet, but no longer a pawn to be sacrificed without thought. You're learning to move on your own, to see the board from multiple angles, to survive in this deadly, beautiful cage. You're 14 years old and you've already lived a lifetime in palace intrigues. What will you become by 16? By 20? For the first time since you arrived, you allow yourself to imagine a future beyond mere survival, and it frightens you how much you want it. You're 14 now, caught in a web of silk and secrets. The garden soil under your fingernails marks you as different from the other concubines who spend hours painting their faces and gossiping behind perfumed sleeves. You still move with a slight limp, the foot-binding process never completed because you were deemed too old when you arrived, making you damaged goods in this world where female perfection is measured in 3-inch golden lotuses. But your imperfection has become your salvation. No one expects a half-lame garden girl to navigate palace politics. No one watches you too closely, and that's exactly how you've survived this long. Your days follow a rhythm now. Dawn breaks with the palace gong, and you rise from your sleeping mat, muscles aching from yesterday's labour. The small room you share with 3 other low-ranking girls smells of sleep and cheap face powder. None of you talk much in the mornings. Friends are luxuries no one can afford here. First task, gather your gardening tools and check the weather. Rain means indoor work, polishing floors or mending garments. Clear skies mean the gardens, pruning, weeding, harvesting medicinal herbs for the imperial physicians. You prefer the outdoors, less chance of crossing paths with dangerous people. Breakfast is simple, rice porridge with pickled vegetables. You eat quickly, head down. Food, like everything else in the Forbidden City, is distributed according to rank. As a garden girl with special duties for Lady Chen and secretly Lady Sun, you get slightly better portions than the lowest servants, but you're still hungry most days. After breakfast, you report to the head gardener, an old eunuch named Zhang. He's been tending the imperial gardens for 40 years and knows every plant, every season, every emperor's favourite flower. He's also going blind, which makes you invaluable to him. Your young eyes and steady hands do the delicate work he can no longer manage. The chrysanthemums need deadheading, he tells you, his milky eyes staring somewhere past your left shoulder. And check the west wall. I smell rotting wood. Might be termites. You bow and gather your supplies. Zhang is one of the few people in the palace who treats you with basic decency. Not kindness exactly. Kindness gets you killed here, but a gruff respect. You protect him from his superiors who would replace him if they knew how bad his eyesight had become. He protects you from the harsher tasks that might be assigned to a girl your age. The morning passes in quiet work. You deadhead the chrysanthemums, keeping the finest blooms to dry for tea. You check the west wall and find the termites Zhang smelled somehow. You report it to the construction eunuchs, who give you a copper coin for saving them from a bigger repair later. You hide the coin in a small pouch buried beneath a specific stone in the garden, your emergency fund should you ever need to bribe your way out of trouble. Midday brings the heat and a short break. You sit in the shade of a gnarled pine tree, drinking water from a bamboo canteen. From this spot you can see into the courtyards where higher-ranking concubines take their leisure. Today they're watching a performance. Musicians playing the erhu and pipa, while dancers in bright costumes perform an ancient tale of love and loss. You notice Lady Sun among them, her hair adorned with the kingfisher feather ornaments that have become fashionable since her arrival. She laughs at something, the sound carrying across the courtyard. Beside her sits another woman you recognize, Consort Lin, one of the Emperor's favourites who has already given him 2 daughters. The women appear friendly, but you know better than to trust appearances here. A shadow falls across you, interrupting your observations. Enjoying the show, garden rat? Lady Wu sneers down at you, 2 of her maids flanking her like prison guards. You lower your eyes and start to rise, but her foot presses down on your calf, pinning you in place. The pain shoots up your leg, but you don't cry out. She'd enjoy that too much. I asked you a question. Forgive me, my lady. I was merely resting a moment. Her foot presses harder. Spying, more likely. Who do you report to these days? Lady Chen? Or has she tired of you? You say nothing, which infuriates her more. Lady Wu has been your enemy since your first days in the palace, though you've never understood why she bothers with someone as lowly as you. Perhaps I should have you reassigned, she muses. The night soil collectors need assistance. Imagine, from the gardens to shoveling shit. Though in your case, it's hardly a demotion. The head gardener would miss me, you say carefully. He relies on me for the Emperor's medicinal herbs. It's a subtle reminder that you have some protection, however slight. Lady Wu's eyes narrow. We'll see about that. She removes her foot and sweeps away, her maids trailing behind her like the tail of a venomous snake. You rub your calf, knowing it will bruise badly. Lady Wu is dangerous, but also careless. She's made too many enemies, spread her spite too broadly. In the 2 years you've been here, you've seen her influence wane as others rise. Still, a cornered rat bites harder, and Lady Wu's definitely cornered these days. Afternoon brings a change in routine. Instead of returning to the gardens, you're summoned to Lady Chen's quarters. Her maid Lin meets you at the entrance, wrinkling her nose at your dirt-stained clothes. Wash your hands at least, she scolds, pointing to a basin of water. She has guests. This is unusual. Lady Chen rarely receives visitors when you're scheduled to attend her. You scrub your hands and straighten your simple clothes as best you can before following Lin inside. The room smells of incense and tea. Lady Chen sits at a low table, and across from her, your heart nearly stops, is Lady Sun. The two women who separately command your loyalty are together, speaking as if they're friends, which you know they are, but they've always kept up the pretense of formal distance in public. Ah, here she is, Lady Chen says, gesturing for you to approach. My little garden spy. You now-tow deeply, mind racing. What game is this? Are they testing you again? Rise, Lady Sun says, and come sit. We need your help. You obey, kneeling at the table at a respectful distance from both women. A third cup sits waiting, and Lady Chen gestures for you to pour your own tea, an extraordinary honor for someone of your rank. Lady Wu visited you today, Lady Chen states. Of course she knows already. Nothing happens in this palace without someone watching, reporting, calculating advantage. Yes, my lady. She threatened you, Lady Sun adds. Not for the first time. You nod cautiously. She's become a problem, Lady Chen says, sipping her tea. For all of us. Lady Sun's elegant fingers trace the rim of her cup. She's spreading rumours that I meet with military officials, that I'm planning to influence the Emperor against the Empress. And she's implied to the chief eunuch that I've been stealing medicine meant for the Emperor's mother, Lady Chen adds. Both dangerous accusations. Both false? You ask before you can stop yourself. The women exchange a glance and Lady Sun's mouth curves into a slight smile. You've taught her to ask interesting questions, she says to Lady Chen. She came that way, Lady Chen replies. I merely refined the skill. Lady Sun refocuses on you. Let's say the accusations are complicated. The truth is rarely as simple as palace rumours suggest, but Lady Wu's motivations are clear enough. She's losing position and trying to regain it by attacking those with more favour. Why tell me this, you ask? Because, Lady Chen says, we need someone who can move between worlds. Someone who can access places neither of us can go without drawing attention. Someone disposable? The question slips out before you can censor it. Instead of anger, your impertinence earns a bark of laughter from Lady Chen. If we wanted disposable girl, we'd use one of 50 serving maids. No, we need someone with specific skills. Someone who knows plants grow in sea. Understanding dawns slowly. You want me to poison Lady Wu? No, Lady Sun says sharply. Poison is crude, detectable, and punishable by death for all involved. We need something more subtle. Lady Chen sets down her teacup. Lady Wu suffers from vanity above all else. Her beauty is her only real currency, and she knows it's fading. She's been using whitening creams, desperate to maintain her complexion. She has her own garden of herbs she thinks will preserve her youth, Lady Sun adds. A private plot behind her quarters that only she tends. Now you see the plan. You want me to add something to her garden, something that will affect her appearance without seeming like obvious poison. Lady Chen smiles, and it reminds you of a fox eyeing a rabbit. Clever girl. There are plants that cause rashes, discoloration, subtle effects that appear to be natural ailments rather than deliberate poisoning. The garden records show several such plants in the Imperial collection, Lady Sun says, but identifying them, harvesting them properly, applying them correctly, that requires expertise. Zhang would know, you say cautiously. Zhang cannot know about this, Lady Chen says firmly. His loyalty is to the gardens first, but you've been studying with him for 2 years. Surely you've learned enough. You have, is the terrifying thing. You know at least 3 plants in the Imperial Gardens that could create the effects they want. Plants that would cause Lady Wu's prized skin to break out in blotches and blemishes. Not life-threatening, but devastating to her status and self-image. If I'm caught, you begin. You won't be, Lady Sun assures you. We've arranged for Lady Wu's usual maids to be reassigned for 1 night. Temporary food poisoning, nothing serious. During that time, you'll deliver replacement herbs to her garden. After that, nature takes its course. And if she suspects? She'll suspect everyone except a garden girl, Lady Chen says dismissively. Her pride wouldn't allow her to believe someone so low could harm her. You take a deep breath. This is dangerous. Not as dangerous as actual poison, but still risky enough to cost you your place here, maybe your life. Yet refusing these 2 powerful women might be even more dangerous. I'll need 3 days, you say finally, to identify the right plants, harvest them properly, and prepare them. The women exchange satisfied glances. 3 days, Lady Sun agrees, no more. After you leave their quarters, you walk through the palace in a daze. You've just agreed to sabotage a concubine. A cruel one, yes, but still someone several ranks above you. The punishment for such an act would be severe, but the potential reward is significant too. Successfully carrying out this task would bind Lady Chen and Lady Sun to you more tightly. They would owe you protection, favor, perhaps even advancement. That night, you lie awake on your sleeping mat, listening to the quiet breathing of the other girls and the distant call of the night watchman marking the hours. You've come so far from the frightened child who arrived here 2 years ago. You've learned to read and write. You've mastered the geography of the Forbidden City, its social hierarchies, its secret pathways and hidden rules. You've made yourself useful to powerful people. But at what cost? The girl who left her village would hardly recognize the calculating young woman you've become. You wonder sometimes if your mother would be proud of your survival or horrified by your methods. The next morning, you begin your preparations. You carefully harvest small amounts of several plants from different parts of the garden. Nothing enough to be noticed missing, but sufficient for your purpose. White velvet leaf that causes redness and swelling. Manchurian Dutchman's pipe that creates dark spots on the skin. Wild chrysanthemum that, when concentrated, produces a sticky residue causing persistent rashes. You work during your regular garden duties, explaining to Zhang that you're preparing special medicinal mixtures for your monthly women's time, an excuse no male eunuch will question too closely. You dry some herbs, crush others, prepare tinctures using techniques you've learned from watching the palace physicians. On the 3rd day, Everything is ready. You've created a mixture that looks and smells like ordinary beauty treatment ingredients. Aloe, cucumber, pearl powder, but hidden within are the compounds that will gradually affect Lady Wu's precious skin. That night, as arranged, Lady Wu's regular maids are absent, struck with stomach ailments that have them running to the privies every hour. A replacement maid, one loyal to Lady Sun, meets you at a side entrance to Lady Wu's quarters. "Hurry," she whispers. "She's at dinner with the second consort. You have half an hour at most." Lady Wu's private garden is smaller than you expected, just a few raised beds in a courtyard behind her chambers. You quickly identify the beauty herbs she's growing: angelica, ginseng, white peony. You carefully add your prepared mixtures to the soil around each plant, ensuring they'll be absorbed gradually. Then you sprinkle a bit directly on the leaves of the plants most likely to be harvested soon. You're just finishing when you hear voices approaching. The maid grabs your arm, her fingers digging painfully into your flesh. "Someone's coming," she hisses. "Hide. There's nowhere to go except behind a large decorative rock at the edge of the garden." You squeeze yourself into the shadow it casts, making yourself as small as possible. The maid slips away through a side door, abandoning you without hesitation. Lady Wu enters her garden, accompanied by another concubine you recognize as one of her few remaining allies. They're laughing about something, their voices slightly slurred from wine. "She looked ridiculous," Lady Wu is saying. "All those feathers, like some kind of exotic bird." The Emperor prefers subtle beauty. "Is that why he hasn't visited her chambers in a month?" the other woman asks, causing both to dissolve into mean-spirited giggles. They're talking about Lady Sun, you realize, and if what they're saying is true, her position might be more precarious than you thought. The women settle on a stone bench barely 10 feet from your hiding place. If either looks in your direction, you'll be discovered instantly. "The new cream is working wonderfully," Lady Wu says, touching her cheek. "The court physician says my complexion is the finest he's seen in years." "Better than the Empress herself," her friend agrees. "Everyone's noticed. I've been adding extra pearl powder," Lady Wu confides, "and a special ingredient." She lowers her voice, but you can still hear her. "Crushed butterfly wings, very rare, very expensive, but worth every coin." Your blood runs cold. Crushed butterfly wings are highly toxic when applied to the skin. Not immediately, but over time they cause liver failure and death. Lady Wu isn't just trying to stay beautiful, she's slowly poisoning herself out of vanity and ignorance. The irony is bitter. You came to sabotage her beauty regimen only to discover she's already doing far worse to herself than you ever intended, and now the mixture you've added will interact with the butterfly powder, possibly accelerating or changing its effects in ways you can't predict. You should feel triumphant. Your enemy is destroying herself, and your mission will hasten her downfall. Instead, you feel hollow. Even Lady Wu doesn't deserve the painful death that awaits her if she continues using that powder. The women eventually move inside, giving you the chance to slip away. Instead of returning directly to report your success, you take a detour to the Imperial Library. You need to research butterfly wing toxicity and possible antidotes. There might be a way to neutralize both your sabotage and her self-poisoning. The Imperial Library is officially forbidden to someone of your rank, but you've learned many ways around such restrictions. A bribe to the right eunuch, knowledge of when certain sections are unguarded, and the ability to move silently through shadowy corridors get you inside. You find what you need in an ancient medical text, a remedy that won't save Lady Wu's beauty but might save her life, a special tea that, if consumed regularly, can counteract the butterfly wing poison. You memorize the ingredients, all commonly available in the palace kitchens. Now you face a choice that will define what kind of person you're becoming in this gilded cage. Do you report your successful mission to Lady Chen and Lady Sun, allowing Lady Wu to continue unknowingly poisoning herself? Or do you find a way to anonymously deliver the antidote information, potentially saving your enemy's life, but risking the displeasure of your protectors? As you slip out of the library, a palace maid passes by, arms full of fresh linens. She doesn't notice you in the shadows. On her wrist is a small birthmark in the shape of a crescent moon, distinctive enough to be recognized again. An idea forms. The perfect anonymous messenger. You return to Lady Chen's quarters and report your success, describing how you planted the sabotage herbs in Lady Wu's garden. You don't mention the butterfly wings or your visit to the library. Excellent, Lady Chen says, looking genuinely pleased. Now we wait. The effects should begin appearing within a week. What happens to Lady Wu then? You ask, keeping your voice neutral. Lady Sun, who has joined you, shrugs elegantly. She'll seek medical help, of course. They'll find nothing obviously wrong, just a sudden deterioration of her complexion. She'll be devastated, withdraw from court appearances, lose whatever influence she still has. She won't suspect sabotage. Or she might, Lady Chen acknowledges, but she has too many enemies to identify the source, and by the time she recovers, if she ever does, the court's attention will have moved on to newer, prettier faces. You nod, as if satisfied with this explanation. The plan is elegant in its cruelty, perfect for the palace's particular brand of warfare, but you've already decided it won't play out exactly as they expect. The next morning, you find the maid with the crescent birthmark. You bump into her deliberately in a crowded corridor, slipping a folded paper into her apron pocket during the confusion of apologies. On the paper is a simple message about the dangers of butterfly wing powder and the tea that can counteract it. No names, no accusations, just medical information that might save a life. Whether she'll deliver it to Lady Wu, you don't know. Whether Lady Wu will heed the warning if she receives it, you can't predict. But you've done what you can to balance the scales between your duty to your protectors and your own moral compass. A week later, as expected, Lady Wu disappears from court functions. Rumours fly. A skin ailment, a nervous collapse, a loss of imperial favour. You hear different versions from every corner of the palace. Lady Chen and Lady Sun are pleased with the outcome, though neither mentions your role directly. What no one knows, except perhaps Lady Wu herself, is whether she received your warning about the butterfly wings. You watch and wait for signs. Her death would indicate she continued the poisonous regimen. Her eventual return to court with a diminished but not destroyed complexion would suggest she heeded the warning. 3 weeks after your night in her garden, you glimpse Lady Wu walking slowly through a distant courtyard. Her face is partially covered by a fan, but she's alive and moving without assistance. Something unclenches in your chest. Whatever else happens between you, at least you don't have her death on your conscience. That night, as you prepare for sleep, you find a small package beneath your sleeping mat. Inside is a simple bronze mirror, nothing elaborate, but far finer than anything someone of your station would typically own. There's no note, no indication of the giver, but the coincidence is too perfect to ignore. You hold the mirror up, studying your reflection in the dim light. The face that looks back is no longer a child's. At 14, you've developed the sharp awareness of someone much older. Your eyes hold secrets. Your mouth has learned when to speak and when to stay silent. You've survived another year in the Forbidden City. Not just survived, you've navigated its treacherous waters with increasing skill. You've protected yourself and, in your own small way, even protected an enemy from herself. Tomorrow brings new challenges, new dangers, new opportunities. But tonight, with your bronze mirror hidden safely away, you allow yourself a moment of quiet pride. You're learning to play the game by your own rules. You're 16, and the Forbidden City's harem has carved you into something sharp, like a blade forged in fear. Your bound feet ache, your smiles are masks, and your eyes miss nothing. You've learned to dodge the consort's venomous glares and slip past their traps. But every day is a tightrope walk over a pit of snakes. The Emperor's noticed you again, 3 years since that first night when he sent you away for being too young. Now you're not too young anymore. It happens during the Autumn Moon Festival. You're arranging chrysanthemums in the Hall of Supreme Harmony when he enters unexpectedly, a small entourage of eunuchs trailing behind him. Everyone drops to their knees, foreheads pressed to the floor. Everyone except you, hands full of flowers, caught mid-arrangement. You freeze, then drop everything, falling into a deep kowtow as petals scatter across the polished floor. "The garden girl," he says, and your blood runs cold at being remembered. "Still working with flowers, I see." "Yes, your majesty," you murmur to the floor. "Rise," he commands. "Let me look at you properly." You stand on trembling legs, eyes downcast as protocol demands. 3 years of palace living have taught you many things, but nothing prepares you for the Emperor's direct attention. "You've grown," he observes. Is that approval in his voice? You dare not hope. Hope is dangerous here. "Bring her to my chambers tonight," he tells his chief eunuch, not asking, not wondering if you're willing, just stating a fact like commenting on the weather. The eunuchs nod, faces impassive. They've arranged thousands of such commands. You're just another name on an endless list of women summoned to the dragon bed. That afternoon is a blur. You're excused from your garden duties and whisked away to be prepared, bathed in perfumed water, skin scrubbed until it hurts, hair washed, oiled, styled in the latest court fashion, face painted white with rouge on cheeks and lips, dressed in layers of fine silk. You've only ever handled as laundry. Lady Chen visits during the preparations. She's risen higher in the past year, now a 5th-rank consort with her own small retinue of maids. "Remember what I taught you," she says quietly. "Be pleasing but not eager, responsive but not forward, and whatever happens, do not cry." What if I disappoint him? The question escapes before you can stop it. Her eyes soften briefly, then harden again. Then you'll return to the gardens and continue as before. One night with the Emperor doesn't define your worth unless you get pregnant. The word hangs in the air between you. Pregnancy, the ultimate goal and greatest danger for every concubine. A son means power, status, security. A daughter means slight improvement in rank but little else. No child at all means you return to your previous station, perhaps with a small token of imperial favour. "If you conceive," Lady Chen continues, "everything changes. You'll have enemies you can't even imagine. The Empress herself will notice you, and not favourably." "Has he visited you?" you dare to ask. A shadow crosses her face. "Once, 3 years ago." No pregnancy then. You understand now why she's invested so much in you. You're her proxy, her second chance at power. If you rise, she rises with you. As darkness falls, you're led through silent corridors to the Emperor's chambers, not carried naked like the high-ranking concubines. You're not important enough for that ritual, just walked there by 2 stone-faced eunuchs who've seen it all before. The Emperor's private quarters are surprisingly simple, luxurious, yes, with the finest furnishings and art, but not the overwhelming display of wealth you expected. He sits at a desk, reading reports, still dressed in semi-formal robes. You kowtow at the entrance, heart threatening to burst from your chest. "The garden girl, your majesty," the chief eunuch announces before backing away, leaving you alone with the most powerful man in China. "Or rise," the Emperor says without looking up. "Pour me tea." You obey, moving to the small table where a teapot sits warming over a tiny brazier. Your hands shake slightly as you prepare the cup. This, at least, you know how to do well. Lady Chen insisted you learn the formal tea ceremony to imperial standards. You kneel and offer the cup with both hands, eyes downcast. He takes it, fingers brushing yours briefly. Your name? You tell him, surprised he doesn't remember. Then again, he's had hundreds of women since that night 3 years ago. Ah, yes, he says, sipping the tea. The honest worker, I remember now. He studies you over the rim of his cup. You still work in the gardens? Yes, Your Majesty. Under head gardener Zhang. You enjoy it? The question catches you off guard. No one in the palace has ever asked if you enjoy your work. Yes, Your Majesty. Plants are honest. They respond to care without schemes or secrets. He laughs, a surprisingly warm sound, unlike people at court. I wouldn't know, Your Majesty. A safe answer. Of course you would, he counters. You've survived 3 years here. That requires understanding schemes and secrets. You remain silent, unsure how to respond. Is this a trap? A test? He sets down his teacup and gestures to a low stool near his desk. Sit. Tell me about the gardens. What's blooming now? For the next hour, you talk about chrysanthemums and plum blossoms, autumn herbs and winter preparations. He asks intelligent questions, showing genuine interest. The conversation gradually shifts to court gossip. Who's allied with whom? Which officials are feuding? Which consorts have fallen from favour? You navigate carefully, sharing only what's common knowledge, nothing that could be traced back to Lady Chen or Lady Sun. The Emperor listens, occasionally nodding or asking for clarification. You realise with a start that this is why you're here, not just for physical pleasure, but for information. As a low-ranking garden girl, you see things the Emperor's usual companions don't. You hear conversations not meant for important ears. You're observant, he says finally, and discreet, valuable qualities. He stands and moves to a smaller, adjacent room. Come. You follow, pulse racing, the bedchamber, the moment every concubine simultaneously fears and desires. What follows is nothing like the horror stories whispered among new arrivals, nor the romantic fantasies peddled by storytellers. It's brief, almost businesslike, not cruel, but not particularly tender either. He treats you with basic consideration, like a man fulfilling a duty, rather than indulging a passion. Afterward, he doesn't send you away immediately, which you're told is unusual. Instead, he asks more questions about the palace, about your observations of court dynamics. You answer truthfully when you can, evasively when you must. You may go, he says finally. The eunuchs will escort you back. You bow deeply, unsure if you've pleased him or not. His face reveals nothing. Perhaps I'll summon you again, he adds as you reach the door. You're restful. Most of the women here exhaust me with their schemes and flattery. It's as close to a compliment as you're likely to get. The next morning, you return to your garden duties as if nothing has changed. But everything has. The eunuchs treat you with slightly more respect. The other garden workers give you curious glances. Word travels impossibly fast in the Forbidden City. Lady Chen summons you that evening. "All well?" she asks without preamble. "He was kind," you say carefully. "We talked about the gardens and court gossip." "You talked?" Her eyebrows rise. "Before or after?" "Both." She sits back, processing this information. "That's unusual. He must have found you interesting." "Or useful," you suggest. She nods slowly. "Perhaps both. Did he say he would call for you again?" "He said, perhaps." "Better than no," she muses. "Now we wait, and watch for signs." The signs appear 6 weeks later when you vomit into a flower bed while working in the East Garden, then again the next morning, and the next. Your monthly bleeding doesn't come. You tell no one, not even Lady Chen, not until you're certain, but the palace has eyes everywhere. The Empress's chief maid notices you refusing spicy foods at dinner. A eunuch sees you retching behind a pavilion. Whispers begin. Lady Sun finds you in the garden storage room taking inventory of winter bulbs. "You're pregnant," she says without preamble. You neither confirm nor deny it. Your silence is answer enough. "The Empress will know by nightfall," she continues. "You need protection. I have you and Lady Chen," you say. She laughs, short and sharp. "We're fifth-rank consorts with no children. Against the Empress, we're nothing." Fear coils in your stomach, colder than the morning sickness. What do I do? First, you move to the pregnancy chambers. It's protocol. All pregnant concubines live there under the royal physician's care. Second, you pray for a boy. Third, she pauses. You watch your food and drink every moment of every day. Poison, the word barely escapes your lips. It wouldn't be the first time a low-ranking concubine's pregnancy ended mysteriously. Her eyes are hard with remembered pain, and you wonder suddenly if she speaks from experience. That afternoon, you're officially moved to the pregnancy chambers, a separate section of the palace where expectant imperial concubines are housed. The rooms are larger, the furnishings finer than you're accustomed to. You're assigned 2 maids to attend you and a eunuch to taste all your food and drink. The other women in the pregnancy chambers regard you with mixed reactions. Some are openly hostile, long-time concubines who resent a garden girl receiving imperial favor. Others are cautiously friendly, seeing potential alliance with a woman carrying what might be the next imperial prince. One, a 4th-rank consort named Lady Zhao, who's 7 months pregnant with her second child, takes you under her wing. "The first 3 months are the most dangerous," she tells you quietly as you sit in the communal courtyard, not just from natural causes, but from assistance. "Poison," you say, no longer afraid to name the threat. She nods. The Empress has her own children. She doesn't want competition, and there are other consorts with sons who don't want their positions threatened. "How did you survive?" you ask. "Vigilance and luck." She pats her swollen belly. "This one has been easier. Once you produce 1 healthy child, they're less likely to target you for a second. You absorb her advice like a sponge. Never eat food you haven't seen prepared. Don't use cosmetics or medicines from unknown sources. Don't allow maids to brush your hair unless you've brought them with you. Trust no one." As your belly begins to swell, your status rises accordingly. Eunuchs who once ignored you now bow respectfully. Maids attend to your every need. Lady Chen visits regularly, bringing gifts and court gossip. Even Lady Sun, more distant since your pregnancy was announced, sends exotic fruits and protective charms. The Emperor himself visits once, briefly. He seems pleased but detached, as if you're a prized broodmare who's performing as expected. He doesn't stay long, asking perfunctory questions about your health before returning to affairs of state. 4 months into your pregnancy, the first attack comes. Your evening tea tastes slightly bitter. You're about to drink it when your food taster, a young eunuch assigned to you, collapses, foaming at the mouth. Chaos erupts. Royal physicians are summoned. Guards question everyone. The eunuch survives barely, but someone clearly wanted you or your unborn child dead. The investigation reveals nothing. The poison was in the teapot, but anyone could have accessed the kitchen. Suspects range from the Empress's servants to rival concubines to political enemies of the Emperor himself. That night, Lady Zhao slips into your chambers. "You can't stay in the communal areas," she whispers. "Request private quarters, say the other women's fragrances make you ill, and bring your own cook from outside, someone with no palace connections." "I don't know anyone outside," you admit. "After 3 years in the Forbidden City, your world has narrowed to these walls." "I do," she says. "My family will send someone, an old woman too loyal to be bribed, too skilled to be easily replaced." You wonder why she's helping you, what she gains from your survival. As if reading your thoughts, she says, "3 years ago, someone poisoned my first child in the womb. I lost him at 7 months, a boy." Her eyes are dry but filled with ancient pain. "I don't care whose son sits on the throne after this emperor, but I care about women being used as pawns in men's power games." You're moved to private quarters the next day. A week later, an elderly woman arrives from Lady Zhao's family, stooped, nearly toothless, but with sharp eyes that miss nothing. She takes over your kitchen, preparing every morsel that passes your lips. The second attack comes in your 6th month. Not poison this time, but a physical assault disguised as an accident. A loose roof tile falls while you're walking in the garden. It misses you by inches. The third attempt is more subtle. A court physician, one you've never seen before, arrives to examine you, claiming the chief physician sent him. Your new cook blocks the door, suspicious of this stranger. Guards are summoned and the man flees. He's caught at the palace gates with a pouch of herbs known to induce miscarriage. Through it all, your belly grows. The child within kicks strongly, a fighter like its mother. You speak to it at night, promising protection, safety, the security you never had. "You will be born," you whisper to your swollen abdomen. "You will survive. We both will." In your 8th month, you're too big to walk comfortably. Your feet, never properly bound but still damaged from the initial process, ache constantly from the extra weight. You spend your days sitting in your private garden, watching plum blossoms open in the early spring air. Lady Chen visits more frequently now, bringing reports of court intrigues and positioning herself as your chief ally. Lady Sun is more distant, though still nominally supportive. Lady Zhao, now nursing her newborn son, sends advice and small gifts for the baby. "The Empress is worried Lady Chen," reports one afternoon. "Her oldest son is sickly again. If you bear a healthy boy—" She doesn't finish the thought. She doesn't need to. A healthy imperial son elevates his mother to unimaginable heights. The emperor already has 3 sons by different concubines, but only one by the empress, and that boy has always been weak. "I don't want power," you say truthfully. "I just want my child to live." Lady Chen laughs. "In this place, those are the same thing. Without power, neither of you will survive long." Labor begins on a warm spring night. Pain like nothing you've imagined rips through your body. The midwives are summoned, old women with hands gentled by delivering generations of imperial children. "Breathe," they instruct, moving around you with practiced efficiency. Outside your chamber, eunuchs wait to announce the birth. Guards stand at every entrance, checking all who enter. No one takes chances with an imperial birth. The labor lasts 2 days, 2 days of agony, of pushing and bleeding and praying to gods you're not sure exist. Your world narrows to pain and breath and the urgent need to expel the life within you, and then, suddenly, release. A cry pierces the room, strong, indignant, alive. "A boy!" the chief midwife announces, and the room erupts in controlled excitement. They place him on your chest, red-faced, squalling, perfect. Your son, the emperor's son, an imperial prince. Before you can fully grasp the miracle in your arms, he's taken away to be cleaned and examined. Protocol dictates that imperial children belong to the state more than to their mothers. The news spreads through the palace like wildfire. By nightfall, gifts arrive from officials and nobles seeking favor with the mother of a prince. The emperor himself visits briefly the next day, clearly pleased by his new son's robust health. He will be called Prince Yong, he announces, and you will be elevated to 4th rank consort. Just like that, you rise from garden girl to imperial consort, from nothing to something, all because your body performed its function and produced a male heir. Your son is moved to the imperial nursery, attended by wet nurses and nannies selected by court officials. You're allowed to visit daily, but not to nurse him yourself. Imperial consorts don't perform such basic functions. It breaks your heart to see another woman feeding your child, but you remind yourself that this separation is the price of his security, his future, his life. In the imperial nursery, he's surrounded by guards and tasters. No loose roof tiles will threaten him there. Your new quarters reflect your elevated status, larger, more luxurious, closer to the emperor's chambers. New maids attend you, women who a month ago would have sneered at a mere garden worker. They bow and scrape now, eager to serve the mother of Prince Yong. Lady Chen is among your first visitors after the birth? You've done it, she says, genuine admiration in her voice. From the gardens to 4th rank in 3 years. Unprecedented. Because of your guidance, you acknowledge. She smiles. We rise together. I've already been granted new privileges as your patron. The alliance continues, mutually beneficial, but now the balance of power has shifted slightly. You're no longer just her protégé. You're the mother of a prince. You have your own source of influence now. Lady Sun visits too, bringing an exquisite jade rattle for the baby. The Empress has taken notice of you, she warns. Be careful, your son may be protected by his imperial blood, but you remain vulnerable. What would you suggest, you ask? Make yourself useful to the Empress, Lady Sun advises. Find a way to serve her interests rather than threaten them. A woman in her position has many needs that aren't being met by her usual sycophants. It's wise counsel. The Empress, for all her power, is still a woman navigating a man's world. Perhaps there's room for alliance rather than enmity. As you recover from childbirth, you begin planning your next moves in this deadly game. You're no longer fighting just for your own survival, but for your son's future. Every alliance, every decision, every whispered secret now carries greater weight. You're a mother in the Forbidden City, the most dangerous and powerful position a woman can hold. You're 18 now, mother to a prince and officially a 4th rank consort. Your son, Prince Yong, is 7 months old, growing stronger every day in the imperial nursery. Your rooms are luxurious, your clothes fine silk, your hair adorned with jade pins. Servants bow as you pass. Eunuchs defer to your wishes. What a difference a child makes, especially a male one. Yet with status comes new dangers. The shadows have grown deeper. The knives sharper, the smiles more poisonous. The Empress has requested your presence, announces a senior eunuch one spring morning. He bows respectfully, but you don't miss the flicker of concern in his eyes. Your heart skips. In the 2 years since your arrival at the Forbidden City, you've never once been summoned by the Empress. You've glimpsed her at formal ceremonies, of course, a severe woman in her 40s with impeccable posture and cold, assessing eyes. But direct interaction? Never. Or when, you ask, trying to keep your voice steady? Immediately, you dress carefully in your finest robes, elegant but not showy, jewellery that denotes your rank but doesn't challenge hers, your hair arranged in the latest court style but simpler than you might normally wear it. Every detail sends a message, and the message you want to convey is respectful deference, not competition. The Empress's quarters lie in the heart of the palace, a series of interconnected courtyards and pavilions larger than entire villages. Her personal guards, women, not eunuchs, search you thoroughly before allowing you to enter the innermost chamber. The room takes your breath away, jade and gold everywhere. carved screens depicting immortals and mythical beasts, silks so fine they seem to float, and at the centre, seated on a raised dais, the Empress herself. You kowtow deeply, pressing your forehead to the cool marble floor. "Rise," she commands. Her voice is surprisingly melodious. You stand, keeping your eyes appropriately lowered. "So you're the garden girl who caught my husband's eye," she says, studying you with frank curiosity, "and gave him yet another son." "Your Highness honours me by remembering," you murmur. She laughs, short and sharp. "I remember everyone who enters my husband's bed, and everyone who bears his children, especially the sons." You say nothing, waiting. In the Forbidden City, patience often reveals more than questions. "Your son is strong," she continues, "healthier than most. The physicians say he has a good constitution. Heaven has blessed him," you reply carefully. "Heaven and the proper bloodlines." She taps her fingers on the armrest of her chair. "Tell me about your family." The question is a trap. Everyone knows you're a farmer's daughter, plucked from obscurity. To pretend otherwise would be laughable, but to admit your low origins too directly might seem like highlighting the fact that a peasant girl has produced a stronger heir than the Empress herself. "My family served the soil, Your Highness, simple people who worked hard and honoured their ancestors. No notable bloodlines, no distinguished relatives. None that I know of, Your Highness." She nods, as if confirming something to herself. "And yet you've risen quickly here, 4th rank consort in just 3 years, with valuable alliances." So she knows about Lady Chen, Lady Sun, Lady Zhao. Of course she does. The Empress has spies everywhere. "I've been fortunate to receive guidance from those wiser than myself," you say. "Guidance," she repeats. "Yes, I suppose that's one word for it. Politics is another." She rises suddenly, moving to a window that overlooks a private garden. You remain standing, not daring to move without permission. "Do you know why I summoned you?" she asks without turning. "No, Your Highness." "Because I wanted to see if you're as clever as they say." Now she turns, fixing you with that penetrating gaze, "and whether you might be useful to me." The statement hangs in the air between you. The Empress, the most powerful woman in China, is suggesting an alliance, or at least an arrangement of mutual benefit. "How might I serve Your Highness?" you ask, choosing each word with care. "My son is delicate," she says bluntly. "The Crown Prince has always been sickly. His position is secure. He is the eldest after all. But there are those who whisper he may not be strong enough to rule when the time comes. You know the whispers she means. Everyone does. The Crown Prince is 15, but looks 12, thin and pale, prone to fevers and coughing fits. His brothers, including your own son, appear far healthier." "These whispers could become shouts," she continues, "especially if certain factions gain influence with the Emperor, factions that might prefer a more robust heir, like your son. The implication is clear. Some would prefer to see Prince Yong elevated over the Crown Prince." "I have no such ambitions for my son, Your Highness," you say truthfully. "Prince Yong will serve his elder brother loyally when the time comes." "More noble sentiments," she says, a hint of mockery in her voice. "But whether you harbour such ambitions doesn't matter. Others will harbour them for you. Already certain ministers are positioning themselves closer to you, sending gifts, paying compliments. Have you noticed?" You have. In recent months, court officials who once looked through you now seek your attention. Gifts arrive daily, not just for the baby, but for you. Invitations to poetry readings and music performances, subtle inquiries about your preferences, your opinions. "I've noticed some increased attention," you admit. Of course you have. You're not stupid. She returns to her seat. Here is what I propose. You will keep me informed of these approaches, who makes them, what they offer, what they seek in return. You will appear receptive but non-committal, and you will make it absolutely clear at every opportunity that Prince Yong is being raised to support his elder brother, not replace him. And in return, you dare to ask. She smiles, and for a moment you glimpse the beauty she must have been in her youth. In return, I ensure your son grows up safe and privileged, without the accidents that sometimes befall imperial children who become inconvenient. The threat is veiled but unmistakable. Cooperate, or your son might meet with misfortune. I understand, Your Highness, you say, bowing your head. I think you do. She gestures, dismissing you. You'll report to me monthly through my personal maid, Lotus. No one else, not even your allies Lady Chen and Lady Sun, need know of our arrangement. You bow deeply and back away as protocol demands. Just as you reach the door, her voice stops you. One more thing. The Emperor has been asking about you. It seems he finds your company refreshing. When he summons you next, remember where your true loyalties lie. The comment chills you. The Empress is warning you not to use the Emperor's favour against her interests. Not if you want your son to remain safe. You return to your quarters in a daze, mind racing. You've just been drawn into the highest level of palace politics. The Empress herself sees you as both useful and potentially dangerous. Lady Chen notices your distraction when she visits that afternoon for your regular game of Go. What troubles you? She asks, studying the board. You've made 3 careless moves already. You consider telling her about the Empress's summons, but something holds you back. The Empress explicitly told you not to share your arrangement with Lady Chen. Is it a test? Would the Empress's spies report back if you betrayed her confidence? Just tired, you lie. The baby was fussy last night. Lady Chen accepts this explanation, but her sharp eyes suggest she knows you're hiding something. Later that day, you visit the Imperial Nursery. Prince Yong recognizes you now, reaching his chubby arms toward you when you enter. The sight still makes your heart constrict with love and fear. In the Forbidden City, love is the most dangerous emotion of all. It gives others leverage. The wet nurse hands him over, and you hold him close, breathing in his sweet baby smell. Around you, nursemaids and guards maintain a respectful distance, but you know they watch and listen to everything. Your son received a gift today, says the head nursemaid, presenting a tiny jade pendant on a red silk cord from Minister Wu's household. Minister Wu, the Minister of Rights, one of the most powerful officials in court. Why would he send a gift directly to your infant son? A generous gesture, you say carefully. Has it been tested? Of course, it's quite safe. You examine the pendant, a dragon and phoenix in perfect detail, far too valuable for a simple gift of congratulations, especially 7 months after the birth. Send a suitable acknowledgement, you instruct, handing the pendant back. You don't want the valuable item near your son, no matter how many tests it's passed, and keep it with his other treasures, meaning locked away. That night, unable to sleep, you start a mental inventory of the political forces gathering around your son. Minister Wu represents the conservative faction, traditionalists who maintain strict Confucian values and resist foreign influence. By contrast, Minister Zhao, from the Board of Works, who sent an elaborate mechanical toy last week, leads the progressive faction that favours increased trade with outsiders. Both powerful, both suddenly interested in a 4th-rank consort's baby son. Then there are the military commanders. General Feng sent an exquisite miniature sword. Admiral Hong contributed a pearl said to protect from drowning. Even the chief eunuch, who officially serves the emperor but maintains his own power base, has shown unusual attention to Prince Yong's welfare. All because your son appears strong while the crown prince remains weak, all positioning themselves for future influence should succession become complicated. The emperor summons you 3 days later. This time you're brought to his chambers with full imperial protocol, carried in a sedan chair by eunuchs, wrapped in silk so no one can see you. The ritual befits your new rank. He's in a contemplative mood, sitting by a window overlooking a moonlit garden. He gestures for you to join him, pouring tea with his own hands rather than calling for servants. An extraordinary intimacy. "How is our son?" he asks. "Strong and growing, Your Majesty. The physicians say he has your constitution." He nods, pleased. "And you? Are your new quarters satisfactory?" "More than satisfactory, Your Majesty. I am overwhelmed by your generosity." "Not generosity. You've earned your position." He sips his tea. "The Empress received you recently." "So he knows." "Of course he does. Just as the Empress knows when he summons you." "Yes, Your Majesty. She was most gracious." "What did you discuss?" Another test. The Emperor and Empress maintain separate courts, separate spheres of influence. What passes between them is often as formal and negotiated as relations between separate kingdoms. She spoke of Prince Yong's health, Your Majesty, and of her own son, the Crown Prince. "Nothing else?" His eyes sharpen. You hesitate, weighing risks. Lie to the Emperor and be caught? Tell the truth and betray the Empress's confidence? She suggested that certain factions might see Prince Yong as a rival to the Crown Prince, you say carefully. She wanted to ensure I understood this was not her view, nor would it be mine. The Emperor watches you, expression unreadable. Clever. You've told me the substance while maintaining her confidence. He sets down his teacup. The Empress is right to be concerned. The Crown Prince's position is secure by law and tradition, but not everyone respects such constraints. Your Majesty has many strong sons, you venture. Prince Yong will be proud to serve his elder brother when the time comes, as he should. The Emperor's gaze turns distant, but fate can be unpredictable. The strong sometimes falter, the weak sometimes find strength. A wise ruler prepares for all possibilities. What is he suggesting? That the Crown Prince might not inherit after all, that your son might be considered as an alternative? The thought both thrills and terrifies you. The best service I can offer Prince Yong is to raise him to be loyal to his father and brother, you say, threading the needle between the Emperor's implicit suggestion and the Empress's explicit warning. He smiles slightly. You navigate these waters well for one so new to them. I've had good teachers. Yes, Lady Chen has served you well, as has Lady Sun in her way. He shifts, his manner changing subtly. But tell me, what do you think of Minister Wu? So he's noticed the minister's interest in your son too. I don't know him well, Your Majesty. He sent generous gifts to Prince Yong. Wu seeks advantage wherever he can find it. He believes the old ways are best. Tradition, hierarchy, rigid adherence to ritual. His faction has been gaining influence. And you find this concerning, Your Majesty? The Emperor studies you for a long moment. I find it limiting. China must adapt to survive. The barbarians press at our borders. New ideas challenge old certainties. We cannot meet these challenges by looking only backward. You realize he's sharing political philosophy with you, something he'd normally discuss with ministers, not concubines. Your value to him is changing, evolving beyond the physical or even maternal. He sees you as someone he can talk to, someone with a mind worth engaging. Progress and tradition need not be enemies, you suggest carefully. The strongest tree bends with the wind, but keeps its roots deep in the soil. He looks pleased with the metaphor. Precisely. This is why I find your perspective valuable. You come from outside court circles, yet you understand their dynamics. You see with fresh eyes. The conversation continues, ranging from court politics to agricultural innovations to poetry. You tread carefully, offering thoughts without presumption, questions without challenging his authority. By the time he finally dismisses you, dawn is breaking over the palace roofs. As the eunuchs carry you back to your quarters, your mind spins with implications. The emperor sees you as more than just Prince Yong's mother. The empress views you as both a tool and a potential threat. Ministers and officials circle like hungry wolves, looking for advantage through your son. Your position has never been more secure or more precarious. Over the following months, you navigate these treacherous waters with increasing skill. You report to the Empress as agreed, sharing information about ministerial approaches without revealing your conversations with the Emperor. You receive gifts and overtures from officials without committing to any faction. You maintain your alliances with Lady Chen and Lady Sun, whose knowledge of court intrigue helps you anticipate dangers. Prince Yong thrives, growing from infant to toddler with remarkable vigor. At his first birthday celebration, an elaborate affair attended by the emperor himself, he walks steadily across the ceremonial carpet to bow before his father, a feat that draws gasps of admiration from the assembled courtiers. The crown prince, forced to attend despite a lingering cough, watches with ill-disguised envy. Your son's obvious health and vitality make him increasingly valuable as a political piece, and increasingly vulnerable to those who might see him as a threat. You double the guards around his nursery. You install your own food tasters alongside the imperial ones. You trust no medicine, no toy, no visitor without thorough inspection. The Empress, surprisingly, becomes something of an ally in these protective measures. Whatever her feelings about your son's superior health compared to her own child, she recognizes that stability depends on all imperial children remaining safe. Succession crises triggered by suspicious deaths benefit no one. The Crown Prince has requested to meet his younger brother, she informs you during one of your monthly reports. I think it would be beneficial for them to develop a relationship early. The suggestion alarms you. The Crown Prince is 16 now, intelligent but bitter about his persistent ill health. What if he resents Prince Yong's robust constitution? What if he sees a future rival rather than a brother? As your highness wishes, you say, hiding your concern. Don't worry so obviously, she chides. My son understands his position. Better he knows his brothers as allies than sees them only as threats from a distance. The meeting is arranged with elaborate protocol. Both princes, despite one being barely a year old, are dressed in formal robes, indicating their rank and lineage. The Crown Prince sits on a small throne while Prince Yong is carried in by his nursemaids. You watch from behind a screen, heart in your throat as your son is placed before his elder brother. To your surprise, the Crown Prince's stern expression softens when Prince Yong, ignoring all protocol, toddles forward and reaches curiously for the jade pendant hanging from his brother's belt. He's fearless, the Crown Prince remarks, letting the baby examine the ornament, like father must have been. He's strong, your highness, says the nursemaid, like his elder brother will be when health returns. A diplomatic answer. The Crown Prince doesn't seem convinced, but he pats Prince Yong's head with something like affection. When I am emperor, he says, I will need loyal brothers to help me rule, better than ministers who think only of their own advancement. Is it a genuine sentiment or a calculated performance for those watching? Either way, it represents a potential shift in how your son is viewed, not as a threat to the Crown Prince, but as a future supporter and defender. As Prince Yong is carried out, the Crown Prince catches your eye through the screen. He knows you're there, watching. His gaze is unreadable, but he inclines his head slightly. Acknowledgement, if not exactly respect. That night, the Emperor summons you again. These meetings have become more frequent, once a month at least, sometimes more often. Court gossip suggests you've become something of a favourite, though not yet elevated to the status of imperial consort. "Our sons met today," he says as you pour his tea. "Yes, Your Majesty. The Crown Prince was most gracious. He is intelligent, my eldest. What he lacks in physical strength, he makes up for in mental acuity." The Emperor sounds both proud and concerned. "Did you know he's been studying the military classics, strategy, tactics, the art of war? A proper education for a future emperor, you offer, perhaps. But he shows little interest in poetry, calligraphy, or music, the civilizing arts that balance martial knowledge." He sighs. "I worry about what kind of ruler he will become." You remain silent. This conversation veers too close to treason to risk a comment. "Prince Yong seems differently inclined," he continues. "Even at his young age, he shows curiosity, engagement with the world. The nursemaids say he smiles at music." "He does, Your Majesty. He waves his hands when the court musicians practice near the nursery." The Emperor nods, pleased. "Good. A ruler needs appreciation for beauty as well as strength." A ruler. Has he said too much? His expression gives nothing away. "All your sons have different gifts," you say carefully. "Together they will bring honor to your legacy." He seems satisfied with this diplomatic answer. The conversation shifts to other matters. Court intrigues, provincial reports, the eternal bureaucratic squabbles between ministries. As dawn approaches, he dismisses you with unusual warmth, squeezing your hand briefly as you bow to leave. It's the most personal gesture he's ever made toward you. Back in your quarters, you find a message waiting, a folded paper slipped under your door. Inside, written in a careful hand, are 2 lines. "The phoenix rises only when the dragon falls. Prepare your nest carefully, mother bird." No signature, no clue to the sender, but the meaning seems clear enough. Someone believes the Crown Prince's position is vulnerable. Someone thinks your son might replace him. Someone is encouraging you to prepare for this possibility. You burn the note immediately. Such words are dangerous, even to possess. But the warning, or is it a promise, echoes in your mind as you prepare for sleep. Your position has never been stronger. 4th rank consort, mother of a healthy prince, confidant to the emperor, informant to the empress, ally to powerful court factions. Yet the shadows grow longer, the knives sharper, the smiles more poisonous. You're 18, and the Forbidden City has taught you its most important lesson. The higher you rise, the farther you have to fall. And in this place, no one catches you when you fall. They just watch and wait and take what you leave behind. You're 22, your son now a toddling target in a palace that chews up hope and spits out bones. You've dodged knives, both steel and whispered, but the air's heavier now, thick with plague and panic. The Emperor is sick. The court's a mess of whispers, and the word succession slithers through silk curtains. Prince Yong, your beautiful boy, has just turned 3, old enough to speak in full sentences, to recognize Chinese characters, to bow perfectly in court ceremonies, old enough to be dangerous to those who support the Crown Prince, old enough to be a pawn worth sacrificing in the great game. You've risen to third-rank consort through the Emperor's continued favour. Your chambers now sit in the inner palace complex, just 2 courtyards away from the imperial bedchambers. Your robes are embroidered with gold thread, your hair ornaments worth more than your entire village's yearly harvest. When you walk through the palace, lower-ranking women kowtow, eunuchs scurry to fulfill your wishes. But wealth and status offer no protection against what's coming. Perhaps they even make you more vulnerable. The Emperor won't last the season, Lady Chen tells you during a private tea ceremony. She's risen alongside you, now a third-rank consort herself, still your ally after all these years. His physicians say the infection has reached his lungs. They've been saying that for months, you reply, careful even in private. Walls have ears, especially palace walls. This time, it's different. They've summoned the imperial clansmen from the provinces. The succession council meets daily. Your stomach tightens. The crown prince is 19 now, still physically weak but mentally sharp. By law and tradition, the throne is his. But law and tradition mean little when power hangs in the balance. What have you heard about Prince Yong? You ask, trying to sound casual. Lady Chen's eyes flick to the door, checking for eavesdroppers. Minister Wu's faction mentions him often. They say a strong emperor is needed in dangerous times. The implication is clear. Some factions would prefer your healthy, vigorous son to the sickly crown prince, despite the age difference. A regent could rule until Prince Yong comes of age. He's 3, you say flatly. He can barely dress himself. Age matters less than bloodlines and alliances. Wu's faction would control the regency. Through Prince Yong, they would control China. And through you, they think they would control Prince Yong. What they don't understand is that imperial children belong to the state, not their mothers. If they elevate your son to emperor, you'd likely be separated from him entirely, relegated to a ceremonial role while advisors raise him to their liking. The crown prince is the rightful heir, you say firmly. Lady Chen studies you over her teacup. You sound like the Empress. The Empress understands stability. A succession crisis benefits no one except those who wish to seize power for themselves. The conversation shifts to safer topics, but the warning lingers. Your son has become the centre of a dangerous political calculus, with your own position hanging in the balance. That night, a palace maid delivers a message, not written, too dangerous for that, but whispered directly in your ear. The Empress requests your presence at the hour of the rat. Come alone, tell no one. Midnight. The palace sleeps, or pretends to. You slip through dark corridors, accompanied by a single trusted maid who waits outside while you enter the Empress's inner chambers. The room is dimly lit by a single oil lamp. The Empress sits behind a screen, her figure a shadow against the translucent paper. Even in private, certain protocols must be maintained. The Emperor will die within the week, she says without preamble. The court physicians have told me confidentially, you kowtow, stunned by the bluntness of her statement. Rise, she commands. We have little time for formalities. What do you know of Minister Wu's plans? Only rumours, Your Highness. They speak of the need for a strong emperor. They speak of your son. The Empress's voice is tight with controlled anger. They have approached General Feng and the provincial governors. They seek military support for a regency council. Prince Yong is 3 years old, you say, echoing your earlier conversation with Lady Chen. He cannot rule. Of course not. Wu would rule through him, and to secure their position they would first need to remove the crown prince. A cold fear grips you. Remove can only mean one thing. My son is the rightful heir. The Empress continues. The ministers may not love him, but the common people respect tradition. Civil war benefits no one. What would you have me do, Your Highness? The Empress rises, moving around the screen to face you directly, an extraordinary breach of protocol that underscores the gravity of the situation. Publicly declare your support for the Crown Prince. Take Prince Yong to pay homage to his elder brother. Make it clear to all factions that you reject any plan to place your son on the throne. You bow your head. Of course, Your Highness. There's more. She hesitates, unusual for a woman normally so decisive. You must leave the palace. Your head snaps up. Leave? For your safety and Prince Yong's. As long as you both remain here, you will be tools for ambitious men. The Crown Prince cannot secure his rule while potential rivals exist within the palace walls. You want us exiled. The realization hits like a physical blow. Not exiled, protected. The Empress's expression softens slightly. I have arranged a residence in Suzhou, beautiful gardens, a staff of servants, an appropriate income. You will live in comfort, and Prince Yong will receive the education befitting an imperial prince. When he is older, if he proves loyal, he may be recalled to serve his brother's court. And if I refuse? Her eyes harden. Then I cannot guarantee your safety or your son's when my husband dies and the real struggles begin. The palace is no place for children during a succession. She's right, and you know it. The history of imperial China is littered with dead princes, casualties of succession struggles. Even if the crown prince secures the throne without bloodshed, your son will always represent a potential threat to be eliminated. When must we leave, you ask, resignation in your voice. Tomorrow night. Tell no one, not even Lady Chen, especially not Lady Chen. The warning surprises you. Lady Chen has been your ally for years. You think she would betray me? I think her survival depends on maintaining relationships with multiple factions. She cannot afford to be associated with someone who defies Minister Wu's plans. You return to your chambers, mind racing. In less than a day, you must prepare to leave the only home you've known for the past 6 years. The palace that took you as a child will spit you out as a woman, neither fully welcome nor fully rejected. The next day passes in a blur of controlled panic. You can pack almost nothing without arousing suspicion. You visit Prince Yong in the nursery, heart breaking at the thought of tearing him away from the only home he's ever known, but relieved he'll be spared the deadly politics of succession. We're going on a journey tomorrow, you tell him as he plays with carved wooden animals. A special trip, just you and me. Will father come? He asks, his innocent question a dagger to your heart. No, my love, father must stay here, but we'll be together. You don't tell him you'll likely never see the Emperor again. At 3, he can't understand such permanent separations. You can barely grasp it yourself. As commanded, you take Prince Yong to pay respects to the Crown Prince that afternoon. It's a public ceremony, witnessed by court officials, including Minister Wu, whose face darkens when you guide your son to bow deeply before his elder brother. Prince Yong offers prayers for his brother's health and prosperity, you announce clearly, and pledges his eternal loyalty to the future emperor. The crown prince, thin and pale but alert, acknowledges the gesture with surprising warmth. My brother's loyalty honors our father. I shall remember it when I sit upon the dragon throne. The message is unmistakable. You have chosen sides, publicly and irrevocably. Minister Wu leaves the ceremony without speaking to you, his plans visibly disrupted. That night, as the palace settles into uneasy sleep, a closed sedan chair arrives at your private garden gate. 2 eunuchs, loyal to the Empress, help you and Prince Yong inside, covering you with dark cloth. The chair-bearers, not palace servants but hired men from the city, lift you and begin the journey out of the forbidden city. The gates open silently. guards bribed or loyal to the empress stepping aside. For the first time in 6 years, you pass beyond the red walls that have been both prison and protection. The journey to Suzhou takes 2 weeks. You travel with a small escort. The story is that you're a wealthy merchant's widow returning to her hometown. Prince Yong, bewildered by the sudden changes, alternates between excitement at seeing the outside world and tantrums demanding to return to his familiar nursery. The residence in Suzhou is as beautiful as promised. Set beside a willow-lined canal, the house features elegant pavilions, a garden with artificial mountains and a lotus pond, and quarters for a modest staff of servants. Not as luxurious as the palace, but far grander than anything you could have imagined in your farming village days. 2 weeks after your arrival, news reaches you. The emperor is dead. The crown prince has ascended the dragon throne without incident, taking the reign title Everlasting Peace. Minister Wu has been dismissed from court, sent to a distant province. The empress, now the Empress Dowager, remains influential, guiding her son's early rule. You've escaped the deadliest moment of transition. But what comes next? The answer arrives in the form of an imperial edict 3 months later. It's read aloud by a court official who travels specifically to Suzhou for the purpose. By heaven's mandate, the emperor decrees, Prince Yong shall henceforth be known as the Duke of Peaceful Loyalty, holding lands in Jiangnan province. His mother, the imperial consort, shall be designated the Lady of Tranquil Virtue. They shall maintain their residence in Suzhou, receiving appropriate stipends and honours. The Duke shall be educated in classics, military arts and administration, preparing him for future service to the throne. The message is clear. You haven't been forgotten, but you won't be returning to court. Your son has been given a noble title rather than remaining a prince, a demotion wrapped in an honour, removing him from the imperial succession while providing him a dignified position. It's the best outcome you could have hoped for. Your son will live. You will live. You'll have wealth, comfort, and a measure of freedom unknown within palace walls. Life in Suzhou settles into a rhythm unlike anything you've known before. Without the constant deadly politics of the Forbidden City, you discover what ordinary wealthy Chinese women experience. You can walk in your garden without fearing assassination. You can eat without food tasters. You can speak without measuring every word. Prince Yong, now the young Duke, thrives in this environment. Tutors come to instruct him in calligraphy, classics, mathematics, and martial arts. He grows tall and strong, his father's son in physique if not in future. Years pass. You turn 25, then 30, then 35. Your son becomes a young man, respected in the region for his intelligence and fairness. Local officials consult him on difficult matters. Merchants seek his approval for major ventures. He shows administrative talent that might have made him a fine emperor in another life. Occasionally, news comes from the capital. The emperor, your son's half-brother, has consolidated power. The Empress Dowager has retired to a Buddhist temple. Lady Chen eventually fell from favour, though rumours suggest she lives comfortably in a country estate rather than suffering execution. The palace politics that once consumed your every waking thought now seem distant, almost trivial. You realise the enormity of what you escaped, not just death or disgrace, but a lifetime of artificial constraints, of never feeling safe, of seeing your son used as a political tool until he was either broken by the system or corrupted by it. On your 40th birthday, a surprise visitor arrives, a palace eunuch, aged now but still recognisable as one who served the old empress. He brings gifts and a letter written in the Empress Dowager's own hand. You chose wisely, she writes. The palace consumed those who remained. Your son lives. Mine rules, but never sleeps peacefully. Perhaps you found the better path. It's as close to an admission of envy as you'll ever receive from the woman who was once the most powerful female in China. That night, sitting in your garden pavilion watching fireflies dance over the lotus pond, your son joins you. He's 21 now, recently married to the daughter of a respected scholar official family. The match was based on compatibility rather than politics, another freedom you'd never have had in the palace. "Do you ever regret leaving?" he asks suddenly. "The palace, I mean, the power you had there." You consider the question carefully. "I regret leaving certain people, Lady Chen, Lady Sun, even Lady Zhao, who helped us survive. But the palace itself? No, it was beautiful and terrible, like living inside a tiger's mouth. Magnificent, but always one moment from being devoured. I might have been emperor," he muses, a rare acknowledgement of the path not taken. "You might have been dead," you correct gently. "Few imperial sons survived succession struggles intact. Instead, I'm a minor noble in a provincial city. You're alive, free to make your own choices, to marry for compatibility rather than alliance, to walk in gardens without armed guards, to eat without fear of poison." You take his hand. "I was sold to the palace at 12. I never had choices. You do." He smiles, squeezing your hand. Freedom instead of power. An unusual choice in our history. Perhaps that's why we're still here to discuss it. Later, as you prepare for sleep in your comfortable chamber, a room that's truly yours, not assigned based on imperial favour, you reflect on the journey that brought you here. From a farmer's daughter to imperial consort to provincial noblewoman, from terrified child to political survivor to something approaching contentment. The path makes no sense from the outside, following neither fairy tale narratives of triumph nor tragic arcs of destruction. Instead, it's messier, more human. You survived, you protected your child, you found a way to live with dignity beyond the gilded cage that nearly consumed you. Perhaps that's the reality of a concubine's life, not the romantic fantasies of imperial favour, nor the simplistic tales of victimhood, but the complex navigation of impossibly constrained choices, the constant calculations of survival, the rare opportunities seized when possible, the wisdom to know when to advance and when to retreat. As you drift towards sleep, more comfortable in your provincial bed than you ever were on imperial silk, you think of all the women still trapped in the forbidden city's harem, hundreds of concubines competing for favour that's always temporary, status that's always conditional, power that's never truly their own. You escaped, not perfectly, not without cost, but enough to build something real from the ruins of those impossible constraints. In the quiet darkness of a Suzhou night, far from the palace intrigues that once defined your existence, you realize you found something few imperial consorts ever discover. Not just survival, but peace. And in the end, that might be the greatest victory of all. And with that, close your eyes and drift off to sleep.